Nobody likes waiting. We live in a culture of instant everything, instant coffee, instant messages, instant answers. So when God asks us to wait on his promises, it goes against everything our flesh wants to do. But here's what I've discovered. The people who learn to wait well are the ones that get the biggest breakthroughs. Your waiting season isn't wasted time. God is not silent, and he definitely hasn't forgotten about you. In this video, I'm answering 3 powerful questions that will transform how you see your waiting season. Why is God making me wait? What's happening while I'm waiting? And how do I wait well? By the way, I'm Rossi, and I help women upgrade their mindset and their mission while growing deeper in God. Waiting is not wasting time when you're waiting on God. The Bible is full of people who had to wait on God for the promise. Abraham and Sarah waited 25 years for Isaac. Joseph waited 13 years for his vision to come to pass. David was anointed as king, but spent several years hiding in caves before he ascended the throne. God is faithful to his promises, and he has not forgotten about you. Just because you don't have something now is not an indication that God won't provide it later. So we have to choose how we wait. There's a difference between waiting in frustration and waiting in faith. So the first question is, why is God making me wait? When we are waiting for God's promises, it's natural to ask, why is this taking so long? And we begin to feel like God has forgotten about us, that he's not listening, that he's not there. But God's timing is always perfect, even when it doesn't feel that way to us. When we don't understand the why behind our waiting, it can cause us to be bitter, to be angry with God, to even lose faith. But when we understand God's heart, we stop wrestling with his timing. Galatians 4:4-5 says, "But when the set time had fully come, God sent his son to redeem those under the law." That phrase, when you kind of dig through it in the Greek, it actually means the perfect time. In other words, when it's not time, you can't force it. And when it is time, you can't stop it. I think about this as it relates to my parenting. Now, you guys know I've said I practice gentle parenting, but every now and then my son, he kind of thinks we're on the same level. And I have to remind him, you do it because I said so. You don't get to question me here. And that's how it is with God. We can ask him, but he doesn't have to answer. He is sovereign, which means asking him questions, sometimes the answer is above our pay grade. We got to stay out of his business. But I do want to be clear that God is not making us wait to punish us or because he's angry with us. There are a few reasons why we might have to wait. First, he might be preparing what you're waiting for. The door you want open might not be ready yet. The person you're waiting for might not be ready yet. The opportunity that you're trying to get may not have all the pieces lined up. And sometimes more pieces need to fall in place. God is on the back end orchestrating all of these things. Divine connections, the right people, the right open doors at the right time. He is making moves that you can't see. Again, remember, above our pay grade, sometimes we don't understand, but God is making moves behind the scenes. The second is sometimes God is preparing you. The it may be ready, but you're not ready for it. God will do something in you before he does something for you. He might be developing your character and your faith and your trust in him. Whatever it is, this is a season where you are becoming more dependent on him. He's teaching you to trust him in new ways and revealing his faithfulness to you. And the other thing is sometimes we're not quite ready because he's still chipping away sin. He's still chipping away things that he sees in our life that is not like him. In these seasons, we are building our trust muscles. Okay, God, I don't see the end from here, but I'm going to just take the next step that you're showing me while I'm waiting, right? God is expanding us. He's strengthening that ability to do that in the waiting seasons. The third thing is he might be protecting you while you're waiting. God saying not yet is actually protection. He could be keeping you from settling for something that's less than his best for you, or keeping you from situations or circumstances that will ultimately be harmful for you. What feels like rejection could be God's redirection. So in those moments, I don't want you to feel like you're restricted. Realize that it's protection. It's God reserving you, preserving you so that he can ultimately have a good outcome. God is setting us apart for something greater. And you got to remember that he has the best plans for us. The other thing is sometimes what we're believing for is too small. And so God is working behind the scenes to go beyond. The word says he does exceedingly abundantly above what we can ask or think. So you you might be just believing God, Lord, when am I going to be able to get my apartment, or when am I going to get my first house? And God is setting things in motion so that you can have properties with an S, right? Because he goes beyond what we can ask or even think. So sometimes in that waiting, there's a preservation there. God has an appointed time, a set time, like the Bible says, for your breakthrough, for your change to come. Until then, realize that you are not forgotten. You are being prepared. And if you're in a waiting season now and you need encouragement to keep believing for God's promises, I encourage you to download my affirmation guide. It's full of scriptures and affirmations that you can declare over your life and your situation. And that's available at the link in the description. The next question is, what is happening while I'm waiting? Well, while you're waiting, it could feel like God is absent. Feels like maybe God went on vacation and he forgot to check his email. Like what is happening? He's not responding. And that's how we feel in those moments. But God's silence is not absence. Everybody has seasons like this. And I can think there's some things for years now. I'm like, God, okay, I trust you. I'm believing. I'm doing the best that I can. It's like, God, don't you see? Don't you know? Don't you understand? But I have to take heart in that while I'm waiting, God is working. Think about this. When you are waiting for something in the natural, you just want that thing to happen. You don't know all the details that goes into the processing and the shipping and the making of the thing. You just want what you want. It's the same thing with God. Just because we don't see movement, it doesn't mean nothing is happening. When I was preparing for this, I was thinking back to a couple Christmases ago, and I had downloaded one of those shipment tracking apps. I could see exactly where my package was at every given moment. And when it was something that was really expensive or something that I was really looking forward to, I would check the app constantly. But instead of bringing me peace, it brought me frustration. I'd watch a package take the longest route possible, and I was like, what are they doing? This doesn't even make any sense. Well, eventually I had to delete the app. It was making me too nervous and anxious. Not knowing all the details, that process didn't make sense to me. But here's the thing, the packages still arrived. The shipping company knew things I didn't know about traffic and weather and logistics. It's the same with God. Whatever he's doing in the background may not make sense to us. His route might take longer. It might be more complicated. It might seem to go forward and then take a step back. But God knows everything. He sees the whole picture while we only see one part of the puzzle. Isaiah 64:4 says, "For since the world began, no ear has heard, no eye has seen a God like you, who works for those who wait for him." When we wait on God, he acts on our behalf. So here's what God is doing while we wait. First, he's developing our faith, not just strong faith, but long faith. Strong faith is how big you can believe, but long faith is how long you can believe until you see the promise. It's like, how long can you believe even when you don't feel like it's still worth the wait? Some promises require more than just strong faith. They require long faith. The second thing is he's building your character. Waiting teaches us patience. It teaches us dependence, and it teaches trust. It reveals areas where we are trying to be in control instead of relying and depending on God. It strips away our self-reliance and helps us to focus on relying on him. Remember, delay is not denial. And just because God hasn't done it yet doesn't mean he's not going to. This is something that's important to think about. It's not just enduring for the sake of enduring. It's becoming who you need to become while you're in the waiting process. What do you need to become to be able to steward, to be able to manage, to be able to have wisdom in the thing that you're believing God for? See, part of waiting well is understanding that there is grace in these seasons. And yes, we get frustrated that we're not seeing some of the things that we're believing God for. When is it going to be my turn? But there is a grace. There is something that God gives us in these seasons to just show us, hey, I'm with you. Hey, find joy in that. Hey, I got good for you here. It may not be the whole thing that you're looking for, but he gives us those little breadcrumbs, those little nuggets, those little moments where we can feel his grace to say, okay, I can keep going. I can keep waiting. So the third question is, how do we wait well? If you spend this season comparing and complaining and being bitter, you might find yourself waiting longer than you need to because you haven't learned what God is trying to show you. But if you wait well, you position yourself for God's set timing, his perfect timing. So here are just a few keys to how you can wait well. The first is don't worry while you wait. When we worry, we are focused on negative outcomes. In this waiting time, we can choose to believe what the Lord is saying, or we can choose to believe the enemy. You have to choose to believe God's narrative. Jesus even asked us, how many of you can add one day to your life by worrying? Worry accomplishes nothing, and it drains your peace in this current season. Second, work while you wait. Don't waste this waiting period. See it as an opportunity to grow, to change, to elevate. If you're waiting on a relationship, seek to be the person that you want to attract. Are there things you're still dealing with? Is there baggage you need to tackle? This is the time to do it. If you're waiting for a business breakthrough, use this time to develop your skills and your strategy. The next thing is worship while you wait. The Bible tells us that in God's presence is fullness of joy. And how many of you know in the waiting seasons, we need that extra dose of joy. We need to be in God's presence. When you worship, it takes you out of looking at yourself and it puts your focus on God. It changes your perspective. You remember who God is and what he's capable of. And you stop focusing on what you don't have and focus on who he is. The fourth key to waiting well is to trust God's faithfulness. Hebrews 6:10 says, "For God is not unjust. He will not forget how hard you have worked for him and how you have shown your love to him by caring for other believers, as you still do." God remembers every prayer you've prayed, every seed you've sown, and every act of obedience. And when God remembers you, he doesn't just think something, he does something, right? When we sow something into people or into God's kingdom, there is a harvest that comes back from that. The Bible tells us that God is a God of recompense. That means he will repay us. Psalm 27:13-14 says, "Yet I am confident I will see the Lord's goodness while I am here in the land of the living. Wait patiently for the Lord. Be brave and courageous. Yes, wait patiently for the Lord." Yes, wait patiently for the Lord, and we will see God's goodness. Not just in heaven, but in the land of the living, in your current situation. God is sovereign. He does what he pleases. And he also operates outside of time. We live in minutes and days and hours and seconds, but God operates outside of that. God lives in eternity, so we can't expect to know when and how he's doing the things that he's doing on our behalf. When we try to figure out God's timing, we're trying to put an eternal God into our time-sensitive box. But his thoughts are higher than our thoughts, and his ways are higher than our ways. When God's timing finally comes, it's not just one thing that happens. Multiple things happen at the same time. Your breakthrough will have a ripple effect. It won't just bless you, it will position you to bless others. Your healing won't just restore you, it will be a testimony to encourage others. Your breakthrough in your marriage won't just impact you, it will create a lasting legacy of healthy relationships for your family. So trust God's sovereignty and trust his timing. And remember, we don't have to understand God's timing to know that he's faithful. So the next time you're tempted to ask God, why is it taking so long? Remember this, you are not forgotten. You are being prepared. You are not stuck. You are being positioned. You are not restricted. You are being reserved for something greater. God's timing is perfect, even when it doesn't seem perfect to you. His delays are not denials. And while you're waiting, he is working. Well, that's been it. I hope you enjoyed this one. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe. And remember, if you change your mind, you'll change your life.